Just imagine, 1 second, being a Minecraft builder wanting to participate in the Crocs contest organized by Crocs and GenG. And thinking, yeah, the end is on the 19th of July. It's alright. I have so much time to participate. There's no reason for me to worry. We are merely in June. Oh, what do you mean we are the 16th of July? Ah! That's me right now. So yeah, I wanted to participate in the Crocs contest, and I'm on their server currently. And yeah, it turns out the contest ends in 3 days. And I had no idea. It's amazing. Yeah, let's YOLO a bit, I suppose, and we'll see what we can come up with. So I have a brilliant idea. I think the best I can come up with is creating an organic shape, which I've obviously done a lot in the past. But I think that if I create a nice terrain, nice colorful terrain, it's going to be a good excuse to try to practice something I've been wanting to do in terms of terrain and colors. So we'll see what it looks like at the end, and then create with a colorful organic. And I think we won't have the time to do anything else. A bit more than a week ago, I came back from Iceland, where I did a 2-week road trip with my girlfriend. It was such an amazing experience, and it opened my mind to a lot of new things. This build was inspired by a lot of things I discovered there, and I'm so grateful that we finally did it. We saw some incredible rock and mountain formation, lava plain, beaches, desert, taigas, forests, lake, flowers, and everything. If you happen to hesitate and don't know if you want to go or not, just stop hesitating and go, it's amazing. At some point we stopped at a rock museum, where I finally internalized that rocks don't need to be grey. I know it's kind of a stretch, but I'm 21 years old and for me rocks are grey. I never actually thought about them being like different colors. I knew it, of course, but I never like internalized it. And so since I saw them, I've been wanting to try some Minecraft terrains with beautiful and flashy colors, also inspired by all the mountains and beautiful things we saw in Iceland. So this change was the perfect opportunity for this, since the premise was to build something colorful. I thought that it was amazing if I could try a colorful terrain. So my first idea was a cliff and a waterfall, inspired by this Icelandic waterfall. I was thinking about like a peaceful area surrounding a lake at the bottom of this cute waterfall with a giant organic, probably a butterfly or something along those lines. But as you will see, it turned out a bit differently. For the color palette, I got inspired by those 2 rocks that I took picture of at the rock museum. And as you will see, on this build I've used about every color possible. And when you work with so many different colors, the most challenging part is to not make a giant and messy and jarring color pudding. To achieve an harmonious usage of color, the key factor is balance. I used orange as my main, although you can't quite see it yet, then pink and green as my secondary color. Blue tones fill the rest of the plot, and while they are technically more bluish blocks, their colors are quite muted, which help not to drag too much of the attention, so it works well. The rock gradient was challenging to make because the key factor here was to not make any color clash with its adjacent colors. We got 2 shades of purple, then red stands out but doesn't clash with the desaturated blue. That transition into gray, then into desaturated orange, and then become blue again. No saturated color will ever clash with a desaturated one, even if they are supposed to contrast heavily, like orange and blue or red and green. At this point in the build, I realized that the colors I've used for the ground texturings, the magentas and pink ones, works well on the shader view, but on the normal Minecraft view, the one that will be just for the contest as far as I know, they were quite dull and grayish. So I decided to replace a bunch of the terracottas, which were responsible for the grayish aspect of them, with a bunch of pink concrete and later pink wool to make the terrain pop some more. It turned out to be an amazing decision, as it allowed me to use less saturated greens later on. That included leaves and the new fantastic moss block, which looks incredible, alongside green concrete. I love that without removing any of the pop factor of the build. It might just be a personal preference, but I love working with saturated colors in general. One of my favorite building style is candy-like houses and terrains, which brings your daily sugar intake just by looking at the colors. I mean, it might not sound great like that, but it's super cute, trust me. For the water, I used a mix of glass, honey, and orange concrete powder. Orange and green were the only color that were yet to be used, and because I already planned on doing some of the vegetation with green, I didn't want to use it for the river. On top of that, green water tend to be seen as poisonous, radioactive, or something like that, which is definitely not the vibe I was going for. On the other hand, yellowish orange makes it warm and appealing, which means it was the designated color for it. On top of the river and waterfall, I used white glass to indicate the direction of the flow and bring a bit more volume and life to the water. At this point, I realized that the upper terrain was way too low, and it didn't render the perspective and feeling I wanted it to convey. At the same time, I didn't have any time to start it over. So instead, I decided to stick another mountain on top of it and try to make them work together. It was particularly challenging, and I had to make it widely asymmetrical and play with caves to connect the two terrains together. A funny element is that you can understand pretty easily that the top section was added later if you look at the back of the build. Just like with normal ground, you can see the geological layers that indicate how the terrain was formed, which I find really cool. Because I indeed had no time to redo the whole gradient all over again, and I didn't want to change it. So I just stuck with piling rocks over and over again. And you'll see there's another top section that I added later, and it's exactly the same, it's amazing. Okay, I'm sorry for the little timeless interruption there. There was a lot of people on the server, a lot of flags, and people were streaming, so the community followed along. It created a bit of a mess, and it was really difficult to record anything. But it's alright, we went through it, they stopped, they went back to their daily life, so it's all good. We even got a surprise visit from False Symmetry on the plot. She said she loved my terrain, so yeah, it made me super happy. It was a fun little interaction. So as you can see, things have changed quite a bit. I started to add some wonderful trees, and I added the top section of the mountain there with all the greeneries. I also did this cave here to connect the river to the top of the mountain. Pretty cool if you ask me. So I just think it's so colorful. I think it fits well with the theme of the contest. And I'm really happy to see it's all coming together, and it's, I don't know, I really like the vibe. I'm trying to think of what to add next, because I want to add an element that will stand out and tell the story of the build, but I'm not quite sure if I still want to go with an organic. In like little break, I was thinking of maybe doing a flying boat. I don't know, I see. So yeah, anyway, let's figure it out and resume the time lapse. For the trees, I had three options. Either use green, orange, or pink. Green was already the color of the vegetation and the default color choice for trees, so I wanted to convey something more fantastic and magical and less seen. So this option was directly put aside. Pink was already the color of the ground, and blue was the color of the rocks, so none of them would fit for the leaves of the tree. So once again I defaulted with orange, and it turned out once again to be an amazing good idea. Once this was done, it was time for the storytelling element of the build. As I said, I wanted to go with an organic at first, but since the challenge was about building something a little bit personal, I couldn't find anything fitting. So I decided to build a flying boat. First, because it's cool. Second, because I've never built a diagonal boat, and oh boy, it's not easy. And second, it conveys something really personal for me. My build is about living a colorful, beautiful, cozy, and amazing place. You see, my girlfriend lives on the other side of the world. The best places to work in my domain that I just got into, by the way, are not in my country. And my past is just calling me. But my past is also full of uncertainty and doubt. Although I'm sure it will be crazy and an amazing journey, I can't help but feeling a bit afraid, leaving everything I've ever known behind. And my current life is already incredible, and I will never know before trying if my past will be an improvement or not. And that's what I wanted to express in this build. And I don't know if the feelings convey really well. The feelings more like the story, or my feelings convey really well through the story I tried to craft. But I hope they did, and I'm really happy with it. And yeah, it was such a fun experience. I never built in such a short amount of time. The whole build took 9 hours. It was crazy. It was amazing. I liked it.